Okay, so you want to be the comp. You do you? Okay. So first you're going to have to learn about what tech trees do and why they are kind of spaced out the way they are. So mechanical engineering allows you to get your tank chassis. Very important. They also have this cool tree called advanced machining. So if you want to streamline straight into medium tanks, then you grab your gas turbine and your composite, then you rush over to grab your medium tank chassis. Unfortunately, you don't have any weapons, so most people do not do that. It's very bad. Sort of. Depends. Situations. So, next we're going to talk about physics, because it's just the one at the top. So, in this tree, you would go into it because usually the map is fairly large, like Dust Storm or like Dust Storm. And you need a fast engine. It gives you extended range cannon. Bernodi would usually pick this because it gives you a cannon, it gives you a machine gun, gives you a good armor, gives you a good engine, and it gives you nukes at the end of the line when you start to get into tier 3 research. But you don't want to research that right away. So you would come into this tree, you would click on deflective, you'd research it. You'd go over to your nuclear fission, you'd research it, then you'd get your fission reactor. You now have your engine and your armor for your team. Now is when you decide what kind of weapons you want to give them. So, assuming that you're in physics, you're going to go into projectile physics, and you're going to grab the heavy caliber machine gun, third piece of research. So, then you'd get your extended range cannon, and then you rush over to electrical engineering, or mechanical engineering, and then you get your medium tank chassis, and then the world is up to you. Your tier 3 research is very important at this point, and you got to figure out what you want to do. So, tier 3 research is research that allows you to put it on a heavy tank. Because you're already in physics, to go straight into the heavy tanks. So first you research your armor, then your engine, then your weapon, then your other weapon for your medium tanks. So we stop there. This is all for Bernodi, by the way. Then you go over to tank chassis, you get your medium tank chassis. You come back out to the menu and you go in here and you get your aerodynamic shells. So because this is a tier 3 weapon, you don't want to give a tank to somebody to your team without giving them that tier 3 research that they can utilize the tank to their best ability. Still doesn't have a missile launcher. You're Bernodi. You don't need a missile launcher. You need weapons for your heavy tanks. Okay. Same situation. You're on Dust Storm. You have electrical, you're fighting Bernodi. You're NF. You go into electrical engineering because 3-phase electric engine is a very good engine for the speed it is. It's very fast and has a pretty decent cooling capability. First, you're going to grab your reactive armor. It's a very good armor for NF. You create something called super lights. So you get your reactive armor. You get your 3-phase motor. There is no machine gun in this tech tree. Boo-hoo. The next thing, because you're on Dust Storm, is because you're tracking. You go over here to your tracking, and then you go and collect homing missile or guided missile, whatever your team really wants. So this is, at the same time, Bernodi was going into their physics tree, or possibly chemistry or biology, but usually they would go into physics. Then you'd have your electrical engineering. By the time you get your medium tanks and they have their medium tanks, you have a tier 2 weapon for your tanks, or for your medium tanks, and they have a tier 2 weapon for their medium tanks. So you don't have a machine gun. So but your research is a little bit better in the terms of damage and mobility. So NF has a slight advantage at that point. But BE has the advantage because they rush into the aerodynamic shell, get the heavy duty range cannon, and now they pretty much got long range artillery. And that's really hard to get around if they are using it effectively. Okay, another situation. You're NF and it's slaughtered, or any choke point map that is pretty much circulated. If you turn the corner and go a little bit down the lane, you can't get hit. So you would come into this tree because it's very static type fighting. You would get your advanced coolant engine, not very fast, amazing cooling, best cooling in the game. And then you also get your absorbent armor. Absorbent armor is very kind to everybody because it has a low weight for your vehicle, so you can put more plates on it, and so you put all your weapons on it, then you put your absorbent armor on, and you just fill up everything. Just fill up the slots until you have max armor. What's really great about this tree is they have explosive tip bullets, and they also have the high explosive grenades, both used by APCs for very early games. So you would rush into absorbent armor, heat transfer fluids, then you'd grab your explosive tip bullets, and then you'd get your high explosive grenades if you're getting them. Most people do not. At this point, they would come into chemistry, into the improved detonation compounds, and they would just get the high explosive shells. Or if you're NF, you would just get the upgraded missile warhead, and then you would go straight into mechanical engineering. Chemistry is my favorite tech tree because of the variety that both BE and NF can use chemistry to the extent that they do. So biology. So biology is a very special tree because it is very streamlined. Fastest tree in the game. All you gotta do is go into this tree and rush your opponent. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to have better research before the enemy. And if the enemy is just as good as you, it's not going to be a lot of time you're going to have. Maybe you'll have a minute or two of bonus research on the enemy. And at this point, if your research isn't being effective during that time, like you're pushing APCs, you're pushing like biomediums. So a biomedium would be a bioprojectile. Well, first you get the armor, then the biodiesel engine, then you go over to biological weaponry, and you'd get your bio warhead, and or you'd get your bio cannon.
Commander's under attack.
So these are both tier 2 weapons. It's very easy for you to get all three and then go on your tank, and then you have full bio tanks. Very good for the early game, except once the enemy knows that you're using bio and they don't have bio armor, well, they're going to start shooting bio at you like a biological projectile or a warhead or a cannon, and you're going to start to be really impacted by it.
You have been defeated.
So now I'm going to move on to tier 3 weapons. And the reason behind that is the tier 3 weapons go on to heavy tanks. So in electrical engineering, you have your tier 3 weapons, which is the 2 cannons that BE can use effectively, and which is the plasma tier 3 cannon, and the aerodynamic cannon, which is just heavy duty range cannon. And then you also have HIT, which is under fission, which is your nukes. Nukes are very good for clearing buildings, killing people, other tanks. Game crashed. Yup, that's how the game goes. But other than that, I'm gonna make a separate video for tier 2 weapons. This was mostly for the tier 1 to like tier 2 weapons straight into mediums. It was very in depth about that in a quick 10 minutes.